Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Gardens, the Untold Story. Make sure Andy's on the right side or he'll get upset with me. Anyway, guys, we're talking about, has the Ice Age started? Now, I remember back in the 70s, when I was young and in school, they were talking about an Ice Age coming, and then all of a sudden the narrative flipped. But I think we're in a serious conundrum with all the volcanic activity around the world shooting ash into the upper atmosphere. I wouldn't be very much surprised that our global temperatures are going to really start dropping very, very soon. Hey, Tony, Mr. Green Thumb, glad you guys are here. And what the hell? Hello, I love you. Won't you tell me your name by Rip James? Fantastic song, Dr. Green Thumb. Anyway, Andy, Ice Age. Like, what the heck is going on around our planet, and are we really facing an ice age? Are we in it now?
The way it works, and I wrote, have you guys been watching the last show about the environmental boundaries? So I was writing that article about 10 environmental boundaries that we're not supposed to cross. And I also got carried away, and I started writing articles and doing research on ice age and global warmings, because when you cross all of these boundaries, Mother Nature is going to correct herself. And the way she corrects herself is you have global warming. And the global warming doesn't have to be a big warming event. But it does, you have a warming period. It doesn't have to last a long time. Technically, we're already going through that warming period when my summers are like over here in LA, it's 120 degrees. And you can look at around the world, all these really super hot. The way it works is, the more hotter it is, the colder it gets. Equal, right? See what I'm saying? Like, right? So I started to look into. I said, well, let's see. When is the next? When was the last ice age? Right?
Now, are we talking a main ice age or a mini ice age? Because England had a mini ice age.
Yeah, you're too smart. You're too smart for yourself. You know that, right? You're just too smart. There's a monumental ice age, which basically means it lasts millions of years. So that was like 2.5 million years when it lasts up until 10,000 years ago. The last ice age is called, they call it the medieval warming period. So it's a warming period that usually starts first warming heat and then ice. So what started first was the medieval warming period. And the date, let me see if I get this date right, because I like these dates are pretty cool. So the medieval warming period lasted from 1300 to 1850. Okay. And what happened during that time was there was a rapid expansion in Europe, right? Castles were being built. Lots of people were moving there. They were chopping down their forests. The only forest they didn't chop down yours was the Black Forest in Germany, because they were scared of going over near it. There were creatures that would kill them and all that kind of stuff. It's like they wouldn't touch it, so you have the Black Forest left. So when they did that, and combined with what little things they do, because what we do here now when we cross all these borders, it's nothing. I mean, what these people are doing was nothing compared to what we're doing now. It's like we're doing 10,000 times worse than what these people did. Even in China, around the world, no way could we be producing this thing to happen that we're doing now. So what they did was, around the world there was an expansion, but just a slight expansion. People were moving and building houses. They were doing farming. They were doing those things. So everything. But what happened was that the system that Mother Nature has set up, which was the trees, the forest is our lungs. They breathe in, and the whole system that they control as a reaction to everything else. Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about it, because I studied it, and then I started talking about it. I can give a class on this thing all by itself. But it was the 1900s to 1300. That was the medieval warming period. What followed after it was called the Little Ice Age, and you guys can look this up. Called medieval warming period. I'll tell you you'll type Little Ice Age. There it goes. Little Ice Age happened to 1300 to 1850. And what you want to think about is, and this is really cool, because remember Washington crossing the Delaware with it. Yeah, and that big image artwork they have. There are
Yep.
chunks of ice in that river. So he was towards the end of this little ice age.
Yeah.
Now going back a little bit more, you have Napoleon. So the Napoleon army was almost wiped out by this freaking ice storm that they had.
Yeah.
Storm that they had, and England almost got wiped out. And everywhere around the world, there was massive amounts of ice everywhere. Right? That happened. 1300 to 1800. It's like only 350 years.
Yep.
And then the 900, the ice age was 900 to 1300, which was 4 years, 400 years.
Yeah.
Right. See, so and normally, and the monumental ones are done in millions of years and thousands of years. And so the bottom line there is that we have done more in this recent period now that we're doing, since say within the last 100 years, that these two people have done than they have done then, and in the past when nobody was around. You had this monumental. It took a big nudge and a long time to make that happen.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There you go. There you go, Celia. Of course. Some of them say 1250. I do 1300 because I know more. It's 900 to 1300 is what I would say. Okay.
Yeah.
The period, the time period, and so the point here is that we have done more. So you look at the pendulum, right? The pendulum swings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And normally the pendulum has a little fear of swinging, but when it goes like that, it also goes like that the other way.
Yeah, you damn right it does.
And that's one of the easiest ways to tell how Mother Nature tends to balance things out. But that's normally in nature. But what we have done is we have this massive pendulum that we created with so much energy, so much stuff that causes the backlash to go like that. See the difference? So we've managed to create all this, and we've done. So we went over the boundaries not to cross. Every single one of them we have crossed, and every single one of them. Yeah, there you go. 1300 to 1850 is a little ice age, right? Global cooling, but so right now we're in the process of. It's been 50 years. Yeah. So it's been 50 years pretty much when this process has been starting. It coincides with the Industrial Revolution when we decided to make more fertilizers and make more chemicals and pesticides, and we started to do more and more damage, which amplified as we went along. And now we have millions or billions of cars. We didn't have that in Chinese times or in the Middle East. We had horses, cattle, right? Whatever it was. It wasn't the kind of pollution thing that we're doing now. It wasn't the kind of damage that we're doing now. Then they couldn't do that if they wanted to for thousands of years. As a matter of fact, that's what happened. They barely nudged it, but when we came along, we went whoosh.
We pushed it way over the center line. Now, I like to put up a wise comment here. Down in Florida City receives less daylight hours than up in northern Canada. There's definitely has been a major shift. And guys, I know I mentioned the volcano earlier, and Andy and I were talking about it before the show as well. All the animals leaving Yellowstone National Park, where there's a super volcano on our continent, on the North American continent, if that does happen to go off, it's going to put up enough ash, etc., into our atmosphere and reflect enough sunlight. We're not going to have to worry about global warming. We're going to definitely be worrying about a major ice age.
So what we have to understand is everything is connected. Nothing is isolated from anything else, right? So this process that we have initiated by pushing it, pushing all these boundaries really super fast. All the volcanoes, they're all connected. All the volcanoes around the world, around this planet Earth, are connected. It's like one big molten lava, and they're all connected. And the way they were controlled was the way the system has been built, not by luck, but by sheer the way it was designed. The whole process works. Yeah. But when you tilt it out of balance, which is what happens when you have a monumental ice age, basically, the Earth tends to correct itself. It takes a long time to correct yourself, and eventually the ice age goes away, and we have a warming period. But you also have you always have a warming period, ice age, warming period, ice age. So what's going on? The way and these volcanoes are normally not ignited so fast. It's not like all of a sudden, boom, 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 right? You're talking about hundreds of thousands of years before these guys can start nudge a little bit. No, but we have accelerated the whole process very, very fast. And so people are not used to. You're not used to a volcano like the one we were talking about in central United States.
The super volcano Yellowstone
Yellowstone
National Park.
They're saying it's 600,000 years past due.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and guys, if you haven't watched the shows with Stefan Burns, the geophysicist, you guys should be following him because he's looking at all of this stuff, at all of these different volcanic activity globally in relation to the solar winds, the plasma fields up in the space around our planet. He's the one that talks a lot about the Schumann resonance. The resonant frequencies of those solar winds are having an effect on our planet. And if you start correlating the eruptions globally, their eruptions of volcanoes around the world has increased exponentially, putting those particles into our atmosphere. So I think, Andy, I think we are have overbalanced humanity in so many ways, and Mother Nature is going to teach us a really quick lesson in a short amount of time.
So one of the things that I learned about ice age is that it's cold, right? But it's not just cold; it has this pressure that it puts on the Earth.
Yes,
it's a very heavy, massive. It puts it in, like the word deep freeze, right? So what it does is that it stalls the volcanoes from doing their thing, and they can't do anything. But when it gets hotter, they melt, and then it reduces the pressure of the volcanoes. And what the volcanoes do, they just increase the coldness. Because like you said, they spew stuff out, it gets dark, and it gets super cold, and really super fast. It's not like it takes thousands of years to have this happen. And normally this doesn't happen unless something major causes the environment, and that's exactly what we've done. I mean, we've done this on purpose, not as if it happened by this accident, right? It was done on purpose. We decided to go this route, and this route is very bad for us. And so that's what's going on now. And yes, and so I told people maybe 5 years ago the ice age has started, because you have to ice age is not a period when it's only ice. It's a period when it's starting, when this process is starting. And this process is starting now. If you look at your winters, I mean, how many of you out there now think about your past winters that you've had? So our winters have been really super, super, super cold. And that's for Southern California, okay? But I've been seeing winters in New York, all across the United States. I don't know what's going on in Canada too, but I'm pretty sure the winters have been really freezing there. Even though the North Pole is melting, but the wintertime builds it back up again. The Antarctic is actually increasing in size because it's so cold down there. It's actually
a lot of it. Like, I know I live in northern Alberta, so I live in northern Canada, and I do want to address Y's thing about the daylight he was talking about in the summertime. Yes, the northern Arctic gets sunlight 24 hours a day. But somebody that's, driven up there consistently for decades, it's not the high noon sunlight, it's twilight. And in the winter, it's exactly the opposite. It brightens just enough so you can see during the day, but it's not true daylight. So there's that. Now, as for the temperature, we've actually been experiencing a lot warmer winters for the last several decades. When I was a kid, it would hit for you guys, well, -40 is -40. We used to get that consistently, for weeks on end, for a month or 2 months. And now it's 20 degrees less than that. And we might only get that for a couple of 3 days. But then the whole planet is actually shifting back we talk a lot about the balance, whether that balance in biology, nutrition, etc. Our planet is literally was knocked out of balance and is slowly coming back to balance. And that is part of the difference in temperatures globally around the world. So say, it's moving south and west, so I'm not up in the high Arctic anymore. I've come down to where, say, Washington State would normally be for a winter. And I'm personally looking forward to that. But that's not really where we're going with the conversation, Andy. Sorry, I kind of got sidetracked.
Okay, it's okay.
But,
I fell asleep.
mentioning those things, right?
Yeah, I fell asleep during. I was just sitting there, my eyes were open.
Oh, yes, of course.
I was gone. But here's the thing. So right now, there's a process that everything has to go through. So it's not like the volcano is going to blow up tomorrow. But first, the Earth has to be warmed up just a little bit more for the volcano to go off. That means that a little bit more ice has to melt, a little less pressure. So we're right out like on the fence thing, where we could return things to normal, but it's not like we'll go back to normal. The returning to normal, if we're lucky, could take us 50 to 100 years just to even begin the process of trying to balance it out. So we have at least a good amount of time that we're going to be getting some amazing super hot summer times, which goes straight to the winter time sometimes. But then it's later that winter is going to take over, and the winter is going to have a massive effect, and that's what's going to happen. Eventually, the winter is more and more and more winter, so eventually we have nothing but winter. That's what's going to happen, right? And the problem is man has have survived. We have survived through winters before. This kind of stuff before, it's not that big deal. The problem is that I call it nuclear winter. Hint.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and actually, that kind of is what Tina or Tio, I think, is saying. Has the chemtrail ice age begun? Is it man-made from the chemicals we've been putting in our atmosphere? Has that caused a lot of this?
So in India, they just developed something that they're going to start doing real soon to seed the clouds.
Yeah.
And so we're not getting the message that we had better pay attention to what we're doing, because we don't know what we're doing, and that's going to cause ramifications down the road because you can't stop it. You can whack the pendulum, but that pendulum's going to come back, and then you're in trouble. And the harder you hit it the wrong way, the harder it's going to come back the other way. And it's just a matter of time, because I've been talking about this for a good 50 years now, so it's not like it's going to be another 50 years. I feel that we're going to be in deep doo-doo in the sense of things are going to be happening that we have no control, and the best thing we can do is try to survive this and try to figure out how to going down the road. If we do survive, because we will survive, it's not like everybody on the planet is going to die. I know a lot of people have spaceships they're building and they're going to float up and all that stuff. That's another story. But it's not like the end of the world kind of thing, because it's not the world that's going to end, right? It's not the earth that's going to end. It's not the world that's going to blow up. It's going to be life, living things as we know it will be different. So it depends on the creatures and living creatures, where they are on the planet, how they're situated, whether they survive or not, right? Whether they're underwater, whether they're in the right mountain range.
Well, and speaking of that, Andy, in the last ice age, I don't know if you've ever ran across this, but off the west coast of Canada, there was an island where it was a lot like England. It had a warm flow of water coming up, and it didn't freeze during the last ice age, although it was high enough north it should have. And there's actually wolves on that island whose genetic DNA is different than any other wolf in the world, because they were isolated for those, time of the ice age.
I think they're called dire wolves.
It could be. I'm not sure. It's been decades since I looked at that stuff.
Yeah, they're called dire wolves, and that happened in a couple other places too, because the sea level really radically can easily change really, really fast. And so the last time this has happened, we had more land mass available for people to use. Like here in California, off of California, there is a couple of big islands, and the Kappa Islands and a couple other ones. They used to be one big giant land mass all the way across, and it was very tropical. But and then eventually when we had this ice age, the big one, it raised the sea level, so it brought it or made it tiny small islands as opposed to one big giant island.
Yeah.
And even then they're finding bones and stuff from the creatures that lived during that time. California, like everywhere else, we're discovering different kinds of animals that were living in this environment. But for me, go ahead.
When the ice was here, the water levels were so much lower, and because of it was all trapped in the ice. They're finding ruins in under the sea or on the seabed globally around the world, that when the ice age stopped and the water started to melt, the waters rose, and all of those islands and civilizations disappeared because they were inundated with water. So there was a lot more, like Andy said, a lot more land to use, and we as human beings, we like to be close to the water.
I think the interesting thing about that is that we go through this tropical period on a regular basis where it rains everywhere around the planet on a regular basis, and it's really warm and tropical. And then we go through a massive ice period where everything's really semi-frozen, just a few areas here and there. So it's a natural cycle that we go through. But we're not going through anything natural now. We're going through a totally man-made situation that we're in now, and it's going to be very radical, very fast, and we just have to see what happens. It's hard to be in the right place. I was talking about it today. Thinking of moving to Hawaii because it's a tropical island, but at the same time there's a volcano already doing its thing over there, and so I said, well, maybe not a good idea. The book that what it's doing is it's smoking. Oh, that smoke toxin. It depends on which way the wind's blowing at the time you're going to get it. You have to wear a mask, even if you live on the Big Island and all the other islands. It goes across to the other islands if the wind is blowing in that direction. Pencil them in, Andy. Who? I was missing that. Where's pencil them in?
I'm not sure what Penny's talking about on that one. Let me
I missed that, Penny. I missed the pencil them in. It's a wobble. Wobble.
The world's wobbling back and forth. But you think, Andy, Hawaii is all those islands are built from volcanoes. So is it safe to be on any of those islands if the volcanoes start to erupt?
Well, here's the thing. It's the same volcano that built those islands. As the Earth rotated, the volcano, basically the oceans rotated, and the volcano will rotate with it, and it will make an island, and then it will rotate some more, make an island, and it will go right. The volcano's been moving along, and then this is where it's at now, and it's even right now it's still making islands, because that's the bubbly comes up. It's still making islands.
And that's the same with Yellowstone. If you look at the first caldera where it has shifted.
It's moving.
Excessive, eruption has shifted.
Right, and it's all together. They're all moving to coincide. They're all one. They're all one glob of lava moving. And the crust is where we'll see the results of that. And so it's going to be, and this is a normal thing. I mean, we have to eventually figure out how to deal with this, because the Earth will go through changes, and living beings on the planet have to figure out how to survive it, whether they leave the planet. I saw a Star Trek show once where they did nothing but floated around the planet, make ships and buildings, up in the sky. That's possible too. I've seen some movies like that. It's always possible. So we have opportunity to see what we're going to do. Lots of people are saying we should go to other planets, but if you go from one planet to another, you're still going to have the same problem sooner or later. And in fact, some of them have to be re-terraformed, so to speak, have to be changed. But you can't do that permanently. Again, there's a problem. But it's best to stay here and figure out how to ways to survive here, to work with it here. But
our biology matches this planet. We go to another planet with different biology. How's it going to build human cells if it's not coded to build human cells? So our planet here is coded to build, us, our human bodies.
And that's it. And that's exactly it. So the best for me, what I do is I just work on the garden, do my work, and do the best I can day to day. That's all everybody can do. You can't really worry about these things because they're out of our hands. Even if everybody was to do something about it, what can you do to stop this process, right?
Yeah.
Being United States or Noah's Ark, right? That is the same thing. Noah's Ark, it happens to be the actual thing that happened. Why the oceans rose. They basically what's going on here now because the ice, regardless of where it's at, it's melting, and ice is fresh water, and the ocean is salt water. I was going to talk to you a little bit about the Gulf Stream because the Gulf Stream is a key indicator to what's going on to our weather and our climate. And right now, so every time we go into an ice age, right, it freezes the fresh water that freezes.
Yeah.
And so when we get hot, we melt enough of that fresh water, dump fresh water into the ocean, which is salt water, and make it less salty. And that the Gulf Stream is regulated because of this salt water and fresh water, because fresh water will sink to the bottom and salt water will go to the top. So it causes this cycling event to happen. And
an underground river in the ocean.
If you dump enough fresh water, it stops.
Yeah.
You do that, it stops, and it's not like a roulette. It'll sort of wherever it stops. It will stop on an ice age, because that means that it's getting colder. It'll get colder and colder to balance out the melting, right? As more fresh water is available, that actually freezes faster than salt water. So the system is set up to when fresh water gets dissolved and blends with the fresh water, you have all the salt water and fresh water together in mixture. But we're still generating fresh water, and that's what's interesting too. Because it doesn't take salt water and then take that fresh water from it. Fresh water comes from an entirely different source. You know that.
Well, and the thing is and I'm looking for the slide if I still have it here, but the temperature that water freezes, like we always say, it's 0 is freezing, or like in Celsius, and what minus or 32 degrees is freezing for you guys. But in actuality, pure water doesn't freeze at that temperature. It's totally different. And I don't know if I have the slides, but it's a particular microbe that also helps with our rain. And I don't have the slide available right now, but it's totally different. The purity of the water for when it actually freezes, the temperature it freezes at. There's very, very few molecules of water that are pure that freeze at that temperature. Most water has impurities in it, which allows it to freeze at that different temperature.
Yeah, all it has to do with drinking fresh water, because our biology system requires that, and it's never been more or less water on this planet. It's always the same. It's just how we can get at it. It's how it is available. What's going on, guys? I miss something. We need you back in Florida, and we can watch the wave come in from Miami Beach. How don't you know I'm from Florida? Did I ever say I'm a Florida boy? Wow, that's pretty cool, because I am a Florida boy, and I know Miami Beach. There it is.
Yeah, so Pseudomonas syringae is the molecule that helps water condense in our atmosphere without having to get so cold. And I don't have the slide where it refers to the actual temperature, but you guys can look it up. But the water does not freeze. Pure water does not freeze at what we consider the freezing point.
So I think that this is cool. I'm going to do this. I think I could do it. What is it? Yeah. No, I missed it. So it's over here. This one. It says show. There you go. I did it.
Uh-huh.
And the dryers are very interesting also because it's a cycle. It's all has to do with cyclic, and this is not the first or the last of this particular cycle. And we have to again, we have the capabilities to learn from our mistakes and make it better. Because we've done this over and over again. We've done this exactly the same thing. We start building as human beings. We start building. We start creating. And thank you for buying my book, man. And we start creating. And next thing you know, we destroy.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like unusual to happen. That is actually a barrier. A person wrote a book about that, because if the civilization can get past that point of destruction, they got it made. They can travel to the stars. They can advance, evolve, higher beings, and that's where we're at now. We're in that process. And it's interesting too. Also, there is lots of communication with our alien friends who are saying lots of things about you guys. We can help you. We can do this for you if you let us. Stop shooting at us. That kind of stuff. And that's another story there too, because I remember I'm ex-Navy, so I was available for. I did the photography for the Apollo shots. Yeah, so I was kind of there, but so it comes down to again, and with me, it always is about the soil biology, because without these little creatures in the soil, we're going to have a hard time surviving. And we really have to either pay attention, because you can't just do it outside. In other words, it's one thing to go a garden and to do a farm outside. I think we're going to end up having, and I wrote an article about this a couple of times. The only real way to do this is, right there it is. Yeah, make the water, and again it goes back to living organisms. These living organisms do not live isolated. They have to be living amongst other living organisms. That's the way it works. Mm-hmm. Everything has to be, we're all in it together. You only one type of organism, you can have a big problem.
Well, you think that organism, if it's a single-celled organism, it still has to divide to and replicate to survive on our planet, and other biology have to build it. They have to bring those building materials there for that to divide. So there's no such thing as only one type of microorganism or one type of anything. In order for life to exist on our planet, at least organic life, it's a multitude of different biology on a microscopic level and at a quantum level, because you have to consider inside of any single cell, that cell, whether it's a skin cell, it needs the mechanisms inside of it for it to do its job. And so the quantum biology that exists inside of the cell is helping to build the next cell and regenerate. But more biology is needed for that next cell and the next cell and the next cell. So we're always building cells and more biology, which has their own cells. So it's really this beautiful symphony of life that we can't see, without the highest powered microscopes to look. But it's that biology building the cells, keeping us alive, and whether it's in the winter where you look at the Inuit who live in the North Arctic, developing, in that relative cold, their body structure has changed. They actually produce like an antifreeze in their blood to survive. It's we're amazing creatures, or actually the biology that builds us is amazing creatures because they can adapt.
So look, for me, what it means is that you have to constantly be increasing the biology around you. Like for me, my health, right? If I'm 76 and I like to, I feel like I'm at midlife. Okay, so I have to keep my biology internally healthy. I have to do what it takes for my body, which is composed of all these biological families, right? Keep them healthy. And the only way that I can keep them happy and healthy and survive this is that the biology outside has to be healthy too. I can't survive in a spacesuit or in an environment, home that's like isolating the outside.
Well, we used to call them bubble boys because that one movie where they had the bubble, that kid walking around in the bubble, because his mom was so afraid of him getting sick. You can't really survive in that kind of an environment.
No, you can't. Even in space, you're learning that
Yeah.
it's better to have a big giant environment that you can live in, a greenhouse, plants, the whole thing, and take that with you than to try to isolate it and do something else. That's the direction they're going to go eventually. They have to. If they're going to be traveling several different lifetimes to get someplace, because it doesn't work within a person's lifetime to go anywhere. So by the time you get to the destination, it would be your great. You have many parents cycles too. You're number 60, number 70, down the line. The tree of. So for me, what I have decided that I have to do. See, I'm not happy when my garden is not happy. So I'm very depressed right now because my garden is not happy. My garden is not happy because the soil is so bad, hydrophobic, so bad. No amount of compost I can do can change it. So,
and that's the thing, there's only so much you can do just by laying out the organic material without adding the biology into the depths of the soil. Like, and we talk about it with Leighton Morrison all the time, the horizontal soil system, the different, layers that are in our soils, but it's also the different layers of biology that exist there.
Right.
And if you don't have those, you're pretty much SOL.
Right, but guess what I've done? So, because in the past I was buying seeds. Seeds won't start in this environment. And if I get seeds to start in a container, put them in the ground, the squirrels will come and eat them. Because the squirrels have gone nuts to eat everything. And so I'm looking at the garden and say, well, what is growing? So I want to grow what grows. I want to plant what grows. And so right now I got peppermint, spearmint, I have lavender growing, right? I have let's see, what's the name of it? Lemongrass growing. I have strawberries. They won't touch they eat the strawberries, but they won't touch the plants. I have oregano. I had a great batch of chamomile came in. So basically, what's really growing here is these herbs. They love it and they take it off. So what I did, I went to the nursery today. I bought a whole bunch of peppermint, spearmint, oregano. Those guys. As soon as I'm done here, I'm gonna go plant them in the ground, and they're gonna go nuts. Let them go grow nuts, because I think the more roots are in the ground, because the roots are what's going to convert this hydrophobic soil. The roots will convert us at so that the soil is holding the biology, because the biology will come out through the roots. That's what I think.
Every plant has its own, strain of biology that exists with it. So if you've got roots in the soil, it's the biology, connecting to that soil, putting out more biology to bring, nutrition to the plant, whether it's, mining sand, silt, clay, or organic material. Your plant doesn't live without the biology building the cells. That's where we really need people to understand that it truly is all about the biology for your health, your wellness, whether it's plant, animal, human. It doesn't matter if the biology isn't there creating those nutrients to bring into the plant or into our bodies through our gut biome.
You're going to die.
There's no way to be healthy. There's no way to have life.
You're going to die.
Yes, exactly.
And sometimes very horribly. It could be anything, because that's the way it works in nature.
Yes, Mother Nature does not like bare soil.
No, so I went to a customer, the last 3 or 4 customers, 4 customers, maybe all of my customers, bare soil. And I said, there shouldn't be any bare soil anywhere. Yeah. There should not be any bare soil. Here's a gardener with a rake, raking up every little leaf, everything that's falling into the ground and hauling it away. And then here you are telling me what's wrong with my garden. Yeah. And I said, buy a shredder, lady. I was telling another guy, get a mulching mower. Yep. Because the lady said, "Oh, the leaves keep falling onto my grass, and my grass isn't doing very well because of the leaves." And I says, "No, lady, your grass is not doing very well because the root system is drying out, because you don't have any soil for your roots to grow in, and the leaves normally convert to soil, but you're taking it away, and it's super hot. So you're watering like crazy, which is running down the river. By the way, That's your water running down to the next door neighbor, which is saying, keep it up, this is great. What? Right? And
Well,
so
and you especially down there have a problem with hydrophobic soil, and most city environments do because of exactly that. They're pulling all or any organic material off. We're having a shredder, having the mulching mower, these things, you can keep those materials on your property, add them back into the system, whether you're making a compost or you're just throwing it out into your onto your grass and raking it in. You need that organic material for it to be broken down to put back into the plants you're trying to grow, whether it's your grass or your lettuce.
there's a farm I work on. I'm actually the head gardener, and I'm trying to. I've been there maybe 6 months now, and they bought like 100 fruit trees, and the fruit tree company installed them for them. What they did was they just dug a big hole into the clay, put the tree in there, and I don't know what kind of soil they use, and pat it all back in again, and have a big line of water goes to them. So there's apples and citruses.
Yeah.
But the bottom line was the owners fired those people and hired me. And of course, it's kind of late to say. Well, I said, well, what did you put into those holes when you did? Oh, we got some soil and we dumped it in, and so they recently, by the way, had a shot of the Layton's compost. That's the first time they've had on this property any compost has been used, and I had to teach them you have to turn it over. And the trees responded really well because when I do the Layton's compost, I also spray them. My biology, my liquids that I spray, my biology will do really well if there's something there to do well with.
Yeah.
It amplifies the compost, and the compost becomes even better than before. But these people haul every week yards and yards and yards of organic matter, whether it be leaves or grass clippings. They have horses, so they have major areas that the horse eat, but also have major lawns right everywhere. And they mow it and they throw it away.
Yeah. And so and the other thing that has to be considered, especially in a clay-based soil, you're digging out that hole and it's all clay around it. If you're not breaking through that layer, all you've done is created a swimming pool for the roots, and your plant's going to drown.
No drainage whatsoever. So I was at another place and the trees were dying. I thought, what's wrong? One of the things I take with me is a post hole digger.
Yeah.
You know why I take a post hole digger with me?
To break through that layer.
Yeah, I go right next to the tree and I'm going down, taking the soil. Yep. Then you take something else very muddy, and then you look down, there's water. You see that's killing your plant because you didn't. It's just a big container. It doesn't drain.
Yeah.
I had another lady who planting palms, big giant thing, and I said I wouldn't do that. Why? Because they won't drain. So you should put your drain in now. So they went down there and they made a pipe run from the bottom of it out to the side. So when it would automatically drain out, which is very good. They showed me the pond. The pond is surviving. Everything's well. And you can see that it tends to drip out the water out the side. There's another one they didn't do, which is dead, because they decided we're just going to do one, or maybe they just ignore the other one. The other one is full. It died when they pulled it out. It was stinking of dead, water.
Anaerobic conditions. Killed it. Yeah.
Right.
And that's the problem with having a heavy clay soil and not understanding what you're doing is you make this mistake. And these tree farms should know, but then, hey, just have your insurance pay for another dozen trees and we'll bring you another dozen. Hey,
right.
Not a problem.
So, on top of that, when they put them in the hole, it sunk in. The trees sunk in somewhere. They added more soil. So basically they raised the soil level up above a space where they're not supposed to, and they were dying. Yep. So I, by hand, took everything out by hand, scraped by hand. So I would get down to the roots, you see the roots, and I say, hi, roots, how you doing? I sprayed it with my stuff. and let it breathe. And then I put some. They have this wood chip moss. I put a little bit of wood chip moss over the roof, and they're coming back. They're surviving. And the whole property is like massive amounts of trees, massive amounts of fruit trees. I do the garden. What I'll do. I could. I'll do next show. I'll show some of my videos and pictures so you can see what I'm doing.
Well, we would love that. You've just had so much trouble getting them off of your Apple type background and
no,
your computer.
I figured it out. It's Google Drive.
Bonus. Yeah, we'd love to see some of these pictures.
Oh, yeah, it's on Google. So I figured out the Google Drive. So now I have the Google Drive on my computer. What much time we got? So I can actually show you through the Google Drive.
Yeah, we got 15 minutes.
The work that I'm doing, and I don't know if you can go ahead and talk. Let me see if I can bring it up, and I can show you something real fast and see if it works. Okay.
So one of the other things to consider, guys, when you're planting, especially trees, is where your feeder roots are supposed to be. Now you have your tap roots; those are going down into the depths of the planet, and they can go down, hundreds of feet. But the feeder roots, where your plant actually feeds, is in the top 6 inches of your soil structure. So when you get that tree, if you actually clean the roots off and spread them out and build your hole, not just this little cone-shaped hole, but you expand the hole out, you put your plant in, have your tap roots or your base root at the bottom, spread your feeder roots out into that top layer and then cover that. You're going to find that your plants are actually going to be able to start feeding right away, and your taproot is going to go down and drill through that bottom layer. But having those feeder roots in that top 6 inches is really where you need to have, and always make sure that you're putting in organic material on top so they're not drying out. Okay. But remember, if you're in a heavy clay soil, there's a lot of different methods. You can, drill down with a postal auger until you get through that clay layer so that there is that drainage. One of the other things that Andy does is he puts down a column of clay pipe where he's putting in his compost, he's putting in some biochar.
It's called a tree vent.
The tree vent. And in that way, you're actually adding more of life into the soil. The more biology you put in, the better. And when you're putting in that biology, think of the layers of biology, the different zones. You have biology that needs air to live, and you have biology that doesn't. Put all the biology that doesn't need air at the very bottom. Put your tree in. Put the biology that needs air on the top where it's going to get it. And then, look forward from that point. But always put in that drainage. Have you found the picture?
It doesn't like iCloud. This program doesn't like iCloud. So it won't even acknowledge it. So I'll figure it out, because I can get it from iCloud and download it into a file, and then I can just open up the file.
Yeah, because it accepts Google Slides right from your computer.
Yeah, Google Slides, right.
Yeah.
But I have tons and tons of that stuff, because I've been doing this for since early 70s. And so I often thought that you guys would like to see what I do sometimes at work. So we'll do that next week. I will set up the whole... I actually have shows that I've done for an hour. So the whole thing, you can actually see the whole video. I can play that. So I'll figure out something, because I think it'd be really cool to see what I do for a living. And I could been doing it. Well, in the 6th grade, I started doing this, but I didn't have the to do. I couldn't drive, and I couldn't use equipment. I just basically go to people's houses. Even then, I was very much impressed with how alive things was, because I remember gardening in Puerto Rico. My great grandparents have a massive garden, massive farm. I remember animals, compost early on in my life. When I lived in Hialeah, there's no way you can make compost. you go to the city, to the country, and you're lucky if they give you a few animal manures and stuff. But you can't do it in your backyard. I tried doing a pile of compost once in my backyard, and my neighbors complained to the city. The cops came and said, you can't use manure here and all that kind of stuff. That was like, what do you mean? This is not manure. This is compost. I remember that happening to me, you know. But when I got out of the service, I moved to Homestead, which was more of a country environment. The city was outside the city. So compost is easier to make for me. I drove around looking for manure. I remember once taking my dad. Well, when I was there, I had a vehicle, but early on in my youth, my dad used to go. I used to take him to the country and find a chicken farm and get chicken manure. Or, oh, look, a rabbit farm. Stop. You know, get the rabbit pellet. For some reason, I started making compost the right way, which was the way Mother Nature did it. I figured all these animals, they don't have pee and poop in separate places, do they? They all, it's a blend. Everything's all blended up together. And so that's the key to it. And to me, that blend creates a blend of nutrition as well. A blend of microbes, a blend of nutrition, right? Yeah.
The building blocks of life, right?
You'll find, and again, what I teach, and it's really very, very simple, is that the greater the stress, the greater the pest or disease. And the stress is like stress. When the plant's stressed out, that means when you're stressed out, you're not doing very well in digesting your food, are you? When you're stressed out.
That's right.
Right? It's the same thing with plants. When they're stressed out, you're going to be lacking. You can't absorb anything. You really can't. And you get stressed out because you're not being given what you need.
Yep.
So after a while, the plant, and of course, then it gets attacked by diseases and pests. That's why I do foliar application, because I've learned from experience, it's the root system of the plant that's dying. Therefore, it's the soil that it's sitting in that's having a problem. See, right? Yep. And therefore, we have to look at everything that's affecting that soil, whether it be the neighbor, the environment, the earth, the rotation, the whole friggin' thing is affecting this soil. Yeah, which is gets behind your hand, be outside your hand. You can't do anything with the ecosystem other than your own little thing that you got going. That's all you can really do. And so I learned to connect and I've seen it. I've done it over and over again. You name the disease. Okay, phytophthora, right? Phytophthora.
What?
That's a disease. So okay. Phytophthora, weird name, but that's how as best as I can say. I know it's silly to spit it out there because she's actually a computer. You know, I don't know where you got her, but I want one. I want to buy one too. But
oh, you couldn't afford her, man.
No. And so it's the same thing with lethal yellowing. It's the same thing with all these diseases that we're spraying now and sending. And the human body has a correlation. Is that it's a trace mineral deficiency. Simple as that. It's missing a basic building block that's needed for it to produce the minerals and the vitamins it needs. It doesn't get that. It triggers a reaction, and the bugs in the world and the universe knows that plant's on its way out. And the way it gets on its way out, the bugs and everything go.
You go, we're going to compost you because that's what Mother Nature does.
And it's done, right? And it's done. It's the same thing with humans. Something happens with us, and we're done.
Yep. You know, and actually, Lily found a new thing. It's caskets made out of mushroom mycelium that breaks down, and then you break down inside of it right away. They don't do the normal chemicals.
Right. It's in Europe. It's in Europe. It's basically a round ball that when you die, they curl you up, you put you in there, and they enclose you inside. But inside this ball has a certain type of mycelium that then when you bury it, the mycelium will eat you, and they actually put a seed of it's with a plant in there too. The plant will grow, and so you don't have to do a casket or nothing. That plant will eat off your body as well, right? All the nutrients that's coming out. That is really cool. I can't wait for it to come here. You know what I'm saying? I would like to do that. Well, you're looking. I see something. I think.
Yeah, I'm looking for that because I think that's something different. I think the one that Lily found is something that's new, because it's made like a normal casket, and then they put moss inside. Rayon.
That's different.
So I think it's something brand new.
Mycelium and hep caskets.
Yeah, laid on a bed of moss.
Little
Yeah,
pillow, too cute.
but it's an actual long. It's not a round circle like a mushroom. It's an actual casket that they've built out of mycelium. But they're building furniture now. You can build your house. Your 2x4s can be made out of mycelium. It's all
So,
this stuff that's coming out, new technologies.
so guys, I want to tell you this real fast before I forget. So, I'm in the process of creating online workshops. I also have several ebooks that I can give away. It depends on if you know which ones they are. Now, how many of you know which ebooks you can get? Because you're not really asking for it. It's really simple. You go to my website. If you're doing the newsletter, on the newsletter, say click here for this free ebook, and you get that ebook easily. See, but I have several of them. I have the current one, which is Don't Panic, It's Organic, in an ebook form. Now that one is the gold version. I mean the gold version, the colored version. It's in color. But you can't, if you go to Amazon to my website, you can only buy the black and white version. I used to have the color version, but somebody's selling it for $300. He says it's worth it. I said, never mind. So you can only buy the color version through me. And I do a special thing. So if you like the color version is not available, so it's really a classical item to have. I were you, I would buy the black and white version. Use that one because a lot of people write on it. You want to keep this one. But I also have several other books. They're in the ebook version that you can get for free. So what I do is I send all four of them. If you have to know what they are, if you know, you can ask for them. I'm not going to just automatically send you these books if you don't want them. And right now they're free, but sooner or later it's going to be up on the website for sale. But right now you can get them free. I have the bricks book, right? The refractometer, how to use the bricks, right? I have one written by my friend. He did the remineralization of the earth. And then I have one that's written by me, the Don't Panic, It's Organic one. And then I have the other one that's written by me, it's Natural Pest Control Alternatives to Chemicals for the Home and Garden. So there's four of them there. And if you say those things, I will send you whichever one you want. Automatically in your return email, you'll get it. And you can read it. You can even print it out if you want to, use it online. Eventually, if you want to buy the books, just go through me. It's easier because if you go to Amazon, you type Don't Panic, It's Organic, you're going to see thousands and thousands of ebooks, and none of them, maybe I'm in there somewhere.
Yeah, maybe if you search deep enough. But guys, there's the link. It's in the chat for those the living cocoon. But also, guys, there's so much knowledge and information on out there, and we're trying to get more and more out. And I also wanted to mention, if you guys and Aaron, I want to thank Aaron Dashing for being a member of It's All About the Biology channel, joining and becoming a defender of the biology. Really appreciate it. It's only $5 US a month, guys. So if you can, please support the channel and what we're
too
doing
expensive.
here.
$5 a month. Where did you come up with that?
Well, it's how much that I can go and buy a coffee for nowadays, and I figure a coffee is pretty cheap for a month subscription.
Oh no,
help the channel out, guys.
Coffee in Malibu is $20.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me where you live. Yeah.
Normal here. So so next week I'm going to show you. I'm going to make it so it works. You can see some of the business that I do, and I'll do that on a regular basis. I have videos, all kinds of cool stuff. Once I figure out how to get over here, we'll do it. I'll do it.
Before we announce that, Andy, we'll make sure that we jump on together and make sure that it's working right.
Right, we can do it
tell people that's what we're gonna do.
Right, we could do it beforehand, like the day or two before. I'll know this next few days. I'll let you know.
Sounds
good. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Yeah, just let me check and see if our lady chiropractors have set up tomorrow's show for them. Sometimes she does it early. No, she hasn't done it yet, but Chiropractic is Sexy should be on tomorrow morning. And remember, guys, it's between them doing actual patients that these ladies come together and help us to understand our bodies and how our bodies move, etc. Very great information from those ladies. So that's tomorrow, guys. And next week, who knows what's going to be happening with Andy and I. As for the Soil Matters podcast, let me just check. I think it's, yes, Jessica Lowry is back. And I talked to Leighton about the gummies and the syrup that she's producing, the elderberry gummies and syrup. And he's having some amazing results, guys. So you're going to want to check that out on Monday. She's coming back, and we're going to talk more about that. And Tuesday, I have Adam Igwe, the grower in the desert outside of Vegas, coming back on the Tuesday on the 29th. So we're going to get an update from him as well. And speaking about growing in the sand, you guys are going to want to understand what's going on with that. But Andy, love you, brother. And we will see you next week, everybody.
Bye now.